So with that being said, I'm going to start presenting my slides. I think you can now see my slides.
Yes, everything is clear.
Perfect. So this is really how to sell to anyone without having a budget or without sounding salesy, because a lot of times being salesy, it's not really a real word, but people don't like the uncomfortable feeling of selling. And let me tell you, it's a very normal feeling. And a lot of times I tell people that you're doing yourself a disservice by not selling whatever it is that you want to sell, whether it's a product, a service, an idea, or anything. Because if you have something to bring to the world and you keep it to yourself, then you're being very selfish, right? So don't think of selling as something negative. Think of it as something positive that you are bringing to the world, because the world needs you and the world needs good ideas and good people, especially now. So, so don't worry so much about that feeling that a lot of people have when it comes to that. And this is really the art of how to start, conversations, right? Because anything, and a lot of people will tell you, it's not so much about what you know, but who you know. And if you know the right people, then you're going to be able to be successful, because they're going to be the ones who are going to be in your network and they're going to be the ones promoting you. So keep that in mind, okay? And this is really a guide for you guys to come back to whenever you want, so that you can build trust, you can attract the right people, and to close deals. Again, it doesn't have to be just cash, but it could be using nothing but clarity and genuine connection. All right. A lot of times we talked a lot about connections, because that's really what makes sales and what makes people want to be attracted to you. So let's get started. I promise you that by the end of this class, you're going to be able to master this art of how to sell anything you want with zero budget, and how to create demand without ads. Nobody likes to run ads. Nobody likes to spend money on something that you're gonna have to spend a few $1,000s before you even see a return on your investment. And a lot of times we're not in that situation. If you are in that situation, then you can partner with organic marketing and ads to be successful. And this is really how to start conversations that will lead to sales naturally. Okay. All right. So recap. What are you actually selling, right? A lot of times when we do marketing, we focus on the things that people don't care about. For example, if you're selling a product that is a state of the art, it's like the most incredible product that you've ever seen. But what people forget is that they're listing the features of that product instead of selling what the outcome is going to be. Let's say, for example, the product is, I don't know, a filter water system for your house. Instead of talking so much about the specific filter, what happens to the water, what are the materials that you're using, you instead of talking about that, talk about the results. The results are that you're going to feel better because you're going to drink water that is going through a special system that for filtration, you're not going to have a lot of diseases or sickness or days that you're sick, because you're going to have water that has the minerals that it needs. When it comes to having the right type of water, you're going to be able to live a better life. Your family is going to be healthy. Um, it's not just for it's not just for, one day, it's for life, because you're investing in yourself. So you guys see the difference between selling by features and selling by results. It's very different when you approach it that way, because you're really understanding what do people want, and you're giving people what they want instead of talking about the features. Like another example I can give you, that's like a service, right? And let's say it's a plumber, and a plumber comes into a house because he needs to fix the pipes. We don't care what he uses as long as it works, right? So think about what is the end result. Do not list how many lessons you're gonna go through. For example, these are for my coaches or consultants. How many modules, how many tools, what are the deliverables? Sell the end result and focus on the transformation, not the components. Because people buy the outcomes and they don't buy the process. They don't care what you did. Like when you get on the phone with a customer service representative, right? They don't care what they have to go through as long as you give me the answer that I want, right? So a lot of people forget that you really have to focus so much on the selling part of the actual result. Okay, so this is just a quick recap um, that when it comes to marketing and sales. All right. Now, one other important item that we have to remember is who is this for and why it matters. Because the foundation of not sounding and having that uncomfortable feeling in your heart and in your mind that you're going to sell something, it starts with knowing exactly who you're talking to. And this is your ideal customer profile, your ICP. And it's not just a marketing exercise. It's very important because you're going to talk through that to that person specifically and not to the whole world. Like I'm gonna give you an example. I went out to lunch with two of my friends, and these are their moms like me. They have kids, and losing weight after having kids is very challenging for everybody. So when we were talking, because I'm a digital marketer, I think about these things all the time, right? And we were talking about real things in words that we understand. We weren't talking about specific scientific terms or anything like that. And let's say your ICP is her name is Sarah. She lives in Idaho. She has 3 kids. You're getting very specific about this person. And this is important because a lot of people think that, oh yeah, but I can sell to everybody. But no, you really don't sell to everybody, because if you sell to everybody, your message doesn't resonate with anyone. So in this conversation, we brought up the intermittent fasting, right? When you fast for 12 hours or 18 hours, and then you eat only for like 6 or 8, depending on your plan. Um, we talked a lot about, giving up desserts, or, why should you give up things that you love? We talked about things that are important to us when it comes to, keeping up with our kids. Sometimes you have no time to have breakfast, lunch, or dinner. So those conversations, if a digital marketer who is specializing in this would be able to hear us, they would really understand kind of where we were coming from. So the messaging wasn't so much about losing weight, but it was more about the struggles that we were having. So the same thing here. When you write to everyone, you really connect with nobody, because when you speak to one person specifically, you can call them Johnny or anybody. Every word really lands with the purpose. And it creates real conversations, because client questions really become the content inspiration. And it becomes personal, because each post, each message should feel direct, talking to that one person. And you do this by really speaking their language. For example, here in Florida, we have a grocery store called Publix. And a lot of times when people go to the grocery store, they don't say, I'm going to go to the supermarket. If you go to the supermarket, people don't think like that. They say, I'm going to go to Publix, or I'm going to go to, I don't know, Walmart or whatever. And a lot of times the things that you say, so if you're saying that, for example, you're going to go to Publix or you're going to go to Whole Foods is a lot more like for healthy living and stuff like that, but it's a lot more expensive. So you understand where your person kind of lands, whether you land in Whole Foods, which is like very, for people who have a lot of money, like wealthy people mostly go to Whole Foods because it's a lot more expensive. And then if you go to, say, Walmart, which is a lot less expensive, and then you go to Publix, which is kind of like the middle of the road. So that is just an example of who you're really talking to and why it matters, because people are going to resonate differently with what you have to say. And this clarity doesn't limit your reach. In fact, it amplifies it, because you're making an impact by talking to that one person, but that one person is comprehensive of a lot more people. So that's very important that we keep this in mind as we move forward through this presentation, because when you talk to one person, you really talk to your ICP. And if you guys remember, organic marketing is attraction marketing. You're not going out into the world to sell stuff, okay? You're creating content, and I will explain how, by showing who you are so that people come to you, okay? It's more about pulling, not pushing. Organic marketing brings people to you. It's a difference between a magnet and a sales pitch. Then one naturally draws interest, the other creates a little bit more resistance. It's a lot easier to sell to someone who is interested in your content than having to go out to sell to someone. It's without ads because it's in the beginning stages or in conjunction to ads, and it allows people to see you as who you are. I also relate a lot to attraction marketing and organic marketing to reputation management. When somebody wants to buy a product on Amazon, what do? They go on the reviews. They really want to see how good this is. Or when somebody wants to go to, let's say, to a restaurant out to eat, a lot of times they Google it to see what reviews they have. So every industry has kind of like its own reputation management where you're managing the reputation in different ways. And you're amplifying the visibility of what you are showing, because a lot of people really go to, say, social media, or like I mentioned, the other ways, right? Reviews of any kind, so that they really can see who you are. So this is attraction marketing because you're not going out into the world and knocking on people's doors. They're coming to you. And by doing this, it puts you in front of the right people at the right time, and it builds awareness without spending any money. This is free, guys. Reviews are free. In fact, you actually are not supposed to pay for people that are giving you a review. That's actually goes against the terms of service of a lot of these Amazon and Google and all of these other tools. So this is a way for you to establish yourself as an authority and getting reviews or being visible. Okay. And finally, interest before attention. You want to create curiosity before asking for anything. A lot of times, when you show what you do, people are interested and they're curious to know more. So attraction works better than persuasion because it removes the friction from the buying process. It's like you're skipping ahead because people already know something about you. Okay. And this approach transforms your content from promotional into the resources that people actually want to find. And when you become the solution that they're searching for, selling becomes effortless. All right. Are we so far so good? If you guys have questions, I think you can message me directly and I will read out the questions at the end. Okay. So when we talk about organic contract and organic content, or attraction marketing, and I know we've been through this before, a lot of it comes down to, it could be social media, but it can also be done Medium or Reddit or any other of the other forums. It can also be done being through email marketing. So all of these are examples of organic content, things that it doesn't cost anything. It just helps you to amplify your voice. And I know that, we're actually talking about how to sell to anyone without a budget. So all of these are real strategies that you can implement. A lot of times we talk about, are you going to spend money or are you going to spend the time? And a lot of times it's either you're going to spend more money, like for example, with ads, or you're going to spend more time. And that means creating more content or being out there with, promoting things. And if you guys remember the last class, we talked a lot about AI and how that helps you promote content a lot faster. So if you guys have questions about that, please watch the other course, as we're talking about strategies here, not so much about the execution, because the execution, we went over it last time, but these are things that you can do to improve that. So what is the real role of the content that you create, whether you do it by yourself or you do it with AI, because right now with AI, you could do a lot more. Content is really not designed to generate likes. It's designed to start conversations. And those conversations create trust, and trust creates opportunity. So you can have thousands of followers and zero sales if nobody's talking to you. And visibility without dialogue leads to a stalled growth, no matter how many people see your posts. There are a lot of things happening right now with social media that your posts, your videos, your reels, they're shown to everybody, not just to your followers. So somebody who has millions of followers and has zero engagement is not a very attractive account. That's why you're going to see sometimes a lot of bots with accounts that have millions of followers, but all of a sudden, if you look at their posts, especially on Instagram, there's zero likes and zero comments. How does that happen? Or they have a lot of likes, but no comments. Or it's really people that are just exploiting the system because they think that it just looks good. But it doesn't help you, because obviously it's all about engagement. It's all about starting the dialogue, and not just in public, in comments, but also in the DMs. And I'm going to show you some of the things that you can do later on to improve and to be kind of like a pioneer when it comes to standing out in the DMs. But content is the bridge between interest and interaction. And what does that mean? It's really the way that people get to know you without having to talk to you. It's the first step that people can take, no matter who starts the conversation, so that you can create that visibility that you're looking for. Because it addresses your expertise, shows you the real problems of the people that you are helping, and prepares people before they even reach out to you. So this is kind of like think of it as an assistant in making phone calls and answering the phone calls that the questions that come in. That's what your content should be doing, because it's showing people what you do in a way that makes sense for them. So that's why you have to keep that in mind. And I'm not just talking about social media. I'm talking about the other mediums that I shared with you, like Medium, Substacks. These are written types of like blogs that you can have on your website as well. Anything that's free that you can generate without having to pay someone to promote it, that counts. And you can be doing so much of this already, again, with AI, whether you use ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, HeyGen for videos. We talked a lot about these different tools in the last class. But to stay on topic, how do we do this, right? How do we create content and attract people? Well, first of all, you need to do the right research, and you have to have the invitation for people to message you. All right. And I'm going to do, if we have time at the end, I'll give you specific things on what you can do for that. But by the time someone messages you, you have to keep this in mind when you're creating your content. They already know you and they already understand you. Again, the goal is not to go viral. I don't care that it has millions and millions of views and likes. None of that matters. The purpose of this is to spark enough interest to get people to say, oh, I need to talk to this person. And that's when real business happens, because that's when people are understanding what you do and they want to have more information. Okay, so how do you sell with zero budget? Now we're gonna obviously add, like I said, it's great for people that want to spend the money and scale, but for people that want to do something else and work hand in hand with ads, it really helps a lot, because when you sell with zero budget, it's really about how you're serving and what problem you want to solve. The content replaces a cold outreach, like we talked about. So you're not really spamming strangers or sending messages. Like, this is all things that you're doing organically to build the attraction that you want. Okay. And you have to start conversations, because instead of having a funnel that, if you guys have ever gone through a funnel, and I'm sure you have, you watch a video or you download a lead magnet, whether it's a checklist or an ebook or something like that, and then you're moved to the next page, right, of the funnel, which sometimes, it's basically giving you their email. You could do that at the beginning or at the end. And then the funnel keeps on going until they're offering you something, booking a call, buying a product, buying a service, giving them a review, whatever it is, it leads to something. But these types of conversations, they work really well when you're talking about high ticket, meaning between $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 and above, even more, because you really want to talk to that person. And they replace the funnels. They replace all of the steps that you need to go through. Trust replaces the pressure. People buy from people that they trust. So it allows you to avoid the high pressure and to create the authentic relationships that are going to create customers, and it's going to create your community. And relevance replaces the volume. You don't need to reach everyone. You only need to talk to the people that are deeply going to resonate with what you have to say. All right. So here are some conversations tactics that you can start. And not everybody is doing this. So this is going to set you apart. And like I said before, a lot of times you have to think about from the perspective of, am I going to spend more money on this? Or am I going to take more time on this? And this really works really well, because obviously we're talking about organic marketing, attraction marketing, which means that you're not spending the money for people to come to you, right? So when you see, let's say, for example, you post something on social media and you got a like from someone. That's great. Message them, say, hey, thanks for the like. What resonated with you from the post? Or you could do the other way. You can go to people's profiles, whether, again, it can be Substack, Medium, social media, These Substack and Medium features are like blogs. You can go to people's websites, and these are things that are organic, right? You can leave a comment, send people an email. So it's not necessarily restrictive to social media. You just want to start the conversation somehow. And it has to be from something that happens, whether somebody messaged you, like somebody was interested in what you had to say about your post, but you can also do it the other way. You can also bring in things from other people, like, for example, going into other people's social posts, mediums, whatever, so that they can get to know you and you can start the conversation this way. So voice messages. Voice messages are great because you want to say the name of the person. Like, for example, hi, Dr. Valcin, this is Miriam Lenov. I really enjoyed seeing your post. What do you think about X, Y, and Z? So starting the conversation. I'm not asking for I'm not asking for advice. I'm not asking to sell something. I'm starting the conversation by giving somebody a something nice that I have one to say. A compliment, right? Shows that you're a real person. You're not a bot. In the times of AI, being able to humanize every interaction is very important because it's going to feel personal. How many times have you guys gotten a voice message on your DMs? Maybe never or very rarely, right? People are used to just typing things, but when it comes to a voice message, it really stands out a lot. You could also do a quick video, right? To answer questions. If somebody messages you, you can do a quick video. How many times has somebody done a quick video when you're selling something, when you're buying something? It really doesn't happen, right? So video, it adds personality, it makes complex ideas easier to understand. And you can do this with, your phone, just recording yourself. Anything that shows who you are, it's really going to come across in a very personalized way. And screen recordings, there's something called Loom, where and I have it right here on my Safari, on my Google Chrome. It's an extension that is free. You have like 25 videos of 5 minutes or less. And then if you need more, then you can just delete the other ones. Like you have up to 25, so you can just delete a few. And it allows you to show walkthroughs if you need to, because I know a lot of you guys are involved in your communities, right? And sometimes you can't send the flyer and you can't print it out. But if you do a Loom video with the flyer and then you're explaining it, it really helps a lot to show kind of like how much time you're invested in and you're trying to really help them specifically. So you are not pitching anything. I want to make that very clear. We're not here to pitch, we're here to connect. We're here to show how important it is that they reached out or that you're reaching out to them because you're interested in letting them know about some of the things that that you have to offer or that you want to hear from them. So you want to be a report first, offer value second, and only suggest solutions when they feel natural. And I relate a lot of this to and I'm sure a lot of you guys are married. When you're starting to date someone, you don't ask them to get married right away, right? At least not in like Western society. I'm sure in other countries they have different customs and that works really well for them. But for us here in Western society, related to this, where you date someone, you go on a few dates, then you have a relationship with them, and then eventually things start to evolve into being able to marry that person, right? So you're not gonna get married on the first date. Even in other societies, you usually don't get married on the first date unless it's obviously assigned, All right, so use content to start conversation. This is what I mentioned about how can you start these conversations if you don't have anybody who follows you, you don't know what to do. Well, the first thing is that you need to be consistent. You want to use content to start the conversations. This is not just to um, to start and also to continue. So use stories as hooks. A lot of times you want to share real situations and observations from your work, and make it seem as if this is a story that you really want to tell someone. One of the key things that you can do with stories is that when you're telling the story, don't use the word and. Think of the word but. And I'm going to give you an example. Dr. Valcin went to work today, but something came up. And then you explain what came up instead of saying and something came up. When you say the word but, it implies that something happened, like a clash. And when you look at your favorite movies, there's always going to be a plot. How do you build this plot with a normal, a normal human being walking down the street? You have to use the word but, and then that will allow you to continue to tell the story. And this is an exercise that you can do on your own. Try to look at yourself in the mirror, when you're brushing your teeth or doing whatever, and think of a story that you want to share using the word but. You're going to see how all of a sudden you're going to become an incredible scriptwriter because using that word implies that you're going to have to change the scene and something happened and this happened, right? So you can do that with stories, and that story is a hook. Now, what happens at the end of the story? You want to invite responses. You want people to leave you a word in your post, in your blog, wherever, so that you can continue the conversation. Now, strategic tagging. When your content aligns with someone's situation, tag them or send it to them directly. Make it about them, not you. So, for example, Johnny posted something that I was interested in. And, we can talk about, let's say right now the NFL playoffs are going on, right? And he lives in Seattle or whatever. That's who they were playing yesterday. If you see something about that, even if I don't really know Johnny on a personal level, you can say, "Hey, it made me think of you." Or if somebody that had their kid's performance of the theater, or somebody's kid got sick or whatever, and it made them think of you, ask them, how is your son, or how was your son's performance? The whole point of this is to make it personal and to send them content and be top of mind as a person, not as somebody selling to them, so that it's more about them, it's not so much about you. And this made me think of you, and I'm sorry that this happened here. I don't know how that happened, but it's personalized outreach that references your content, and it bridges the gap between visibility and conversation. Because once you start to think about, that personalized of the content, it's very easy then to transition into, hey, listen, I'm putting together this thing for the community, or I have this product, or this service that could help you, or that's exactly what I do. Sometimes when people say something that, yeah, I'm struggling with such and such, you say, oh, I have something that can help you, because you're coming from a place of service. So you're being visible without selling. You're staying present and being helpful without always asking for something, which helps. Consistency builds familiarity, which builds trust. And the content doesn't just inform, it's a dialogue. It's a two-way dialogue where you're actually talking to people, that allows you to to show that you're here to help them. And then someone is going to read this and say, "Oh, this is exactly what I'm dealing with." They're going to come with you naturally, okay? So the content is the beginning of your conversation. It's not a monologue. It's not you just talking by yourself. You want people to communicate back and forth, ask questions, share vulnerable moments, acknowledge the challenges. People want to see authentic stuff, especially in the world of AI, that there's so many things that are really, like, they look fake and nobody really knows sometimes if it's real. Why would someone post this? Use AI to your advantage to amplify your reach, but at the same time, be a person, be a human. AI is not here to take your job necessarily. Okay, you probably can, but when you approach it from the humanistic point of view and you use AI, sorry, as a tool, it's gonna help you amplify. So be a person, don't be a robot. Now, when to move to the next step, right? So you started the conversation, which I've told you, some of the things that you can do. You can either call, you can get people to reply to your message, but don't seem desperate and don't wait too long. You need to find the right balance to be able to continue the conversation. The key is reading the signals and timing your invitation perfectly. So you want to first identify those signals, look for multiple engagements, specific questions, or direct expressions of interest, which I think I've shared with you, like when somebody's talking about their challenges, or somebody else's challenges. And when someone's clearly invested in the conversation, then they're ready. Also frame it as something helpful, because you're there to help people. You're not necessarily there to sell. So if you change your perspective of, I'm here to just sell and make money and spread my ideas and connect with people, a lot of times you're going to put yourself in the mindset of, yeah, but I'm just selling. Like, I just need to sell because I need to make rent or whatever. But don't worry, just come from a place of service. When you say things like, would it be helpful to jump on a quilt to discuss? Or whenever you want to share something, would it be helpful to show you how I can help you? Or it comes from a different place than saying, let me show you my offer. Because you're really talking about service, which is the most important thing. And it allows you to avoid that feeling of feeling like salesy. All right, make it feel optional. Never pressure. Use language like, sorry, I have to get some water. Woo. I'm so sorry, I'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, reminding you, you are with Atlantic International University and you are attending or following the class on digital marketing with Miss Miri Lenoff. She had to step out for a second. She will be back quite quickly, but again, try to reflect upon the statement, the quotation that I put for you at the very beginning, and also remember what Miss Lenoff is doing is showing you the way to master the art of authentic selling through conversations, not cash. Right, Miss Lenoff?
Yes, I apologize. I had something
No,
in
no,
my
no, you
throat
don't have to
and
apologize.
I had to get water. I thought I had my water here. Okay. So we talked about identifying the readiness signals, framing it as helpful because it is helpful. Remember what I told you at the beginning. If you have a if you have something to share with the world and you keep it to yourself, then you're being selfish. So you want to share it with the world. You want to make it feel optional because again, you're not here to make people pressure themselves into anything. So if you use language like if it makes sense, no pressure at all, it removes resistance and increases the acceptance rates, right? And you want to trust your timing. If the conversation feels good and they're asking detailed questions, then that's your green light. If it's not, then you might want to wait. You might want to continue to ask questions. Maybe they're not the right person. Remember, we talked about your ICP? You want to talk about who it is that is good for this offer, who's going to be good for you. So you really want to make sure that the timing is right because the timing will let you know if it's the right person. Okay. And timing beats tactics every time. So, all right. Now, follow ups that don't feel salesy because a lot of times when you're having a conversation with someone, and you offered something, a lot of times it's either you want to follow up too fast but not aggressively at all. The sweet spot is following up as a continuation of the conversation, not as a pressure to buy. And here's how you can say it. You can mention the previous conversations or the content that they engage with, and this shows that you're paying attention and you're building continuity. You can also keep it brief, like, hey, thinking about what you mentioned last time. It helps a lot and it beats any long sales pitch that you that you ever do. It adds a fresh value. So you can share a new resource, you can bring a new insight, you can share a different piece of content that was relevant to their situation, a new update. For example, you have an event that you're promoting. Hey, listen, we were able to secure so and so band for the event. I'm looking forward to seeing you there, or I look forward to your sponsorship, or I look forward to continuing the conversation to see if it's something that you would like to help us out with the event. Whatever it is, add something fresh to the conversation so that you can make each follow up worth opening. And it's good to know when to stop. If somebody then goes silent all of a sudden after 2 to 3 follow ups that were really thoughtful, pushing harder is really going to damage your relationship with them. So you might not want to continue. So it's also important to know when to stop. So remember that follow ups are about staying helpful, not staying annoying. You're not here to annoy anyone. But when done right, they strengthen their relationships instead of straining them. Now, you don't need ads to win, like I said before. So this is gonna be one of the I think this is the last slide, and then we can talk about questions. Clarity wins. You want to know exactly who you serve and what transformation you provide. Remember that you lead with results, you don't lead with features. Relevance converts. You want to speak directly to one person, not everybody, not the whole world, and talk to that one person's specific situation and challenges. And in here, I gave you the example that I went out to lunch with my girlfriends. And if somebody was talking to us, they would have understood who we were. It wasn't talking about dieting for the whole world. It was more about dieting for moms who have young kids. And it was very clear because of the conversation that we were having. So you want to talk to your Sarah, to your Johnny, to whoever it is, give them a name, understand what they want and what are their challenges so that you can really fulfill that. You can do that again with organic marketing and attraction marketing. And conversations close. Real dialogue builds trust faster than any funnel or ad campaign that you can think of. They say that it takes from 7 to 63 touch points to sell something. So if you want to shrink that gap, a touch point is for them to see your content. So being able to show your content, it clicks, it checks one of the boxes and it clicks and it attaches you and it builds that connection that you're looking to create with that person. Okay. And at the end of the day, selling doesn't become selling, it becomes helping. So it becomes a byproduct of trust. So when you focus on clarity, you create relevant content, and you engage in genuine conversations, selling becomes the natural next step because that's what the conversation and where it's leading. It's not a salesy or sleazy tactic. Okay. You don't need pressure to convert because they already know you. They already have that connection to you. And you don't need a massive budget to succeed. And like we said earlier, we're not just talking about products or services. We're talking about anything that you want to sell. How do you convert someone into following you? I know we had some person last class that was running for office. How do you do this? By connecting to your people, by having the people within that work for you connect with the citizens and the people that you want to serve. So you just need to show up consistently to add real value and to build relationships one conversation at a time. I think we have some questions, so I'm going to wait until the end to read them, okay? Just one more thing. The best sales don't feel like sales at all. The best salesperson is not necessarily the one that feels annoying. It's the one that connected with you the most. Because they feel like the obvious solution to your problem is someone already knows what they have to offer. So that's what a zero budget selling looks like when done right. And that's why when you become a seller, when you become a marketer, it's about being there for other people. And the natural progression is to help them. And how do you help them? By them buying your product or your service or joining your event or whatever you want to sell them to. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be cash or money. It's about attention. It's about data, like we said before, and it's about being able to provide to other people. All right, guys. So I think we have a question in the chat, but I will let Dr. Valcin tell me. Do you want me to answer a question I got, or do you want me to?
Let me first thank you very much,
Sure.
Ms. Miri Lenoff, for your phenomenal presentation that really stands out. Thank you very much on behalf of the entire institution of Atlantic International University. Ladies and gentlemen, if I were to summarize this top-notch session, I would simply say a statement that Ms. Miri Lenoff used. Selling is a byproduct of trust. This is the way you can achieve this goal of selling to anyone with zero budget. Build trust, going through all the factors and elements that support your goal to establish that relationship. You've got to go there first prior to being successful in getting something from somebody, whether you are selling a product, you are establishing a relationship, whatever that is, you've got to build trust. So I don't see any question on my end, Miss Lenoff. So if any shows up on your hand, then go ahead and answer them, please.
Yeah, so somebody was asking about the slides. So I'm putting the link on the chat for everybody. They were here a few minutes late. I know that the classes also get uploaded. So you can also see it, I think, like a few days or like in a week that when it's finally uploaded. But yeah, does anybody else have any other questions or observations?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your time. Remember, the session is not done for Miss Lenoff. It certainly is not done for myself. It is done for you. You have decided to join us, and I thank you once again for this presentation. So the floor is now 100% yours. Questions either on the chat box or uh, making it live, voicing your questions or comments. So please do not let this opportunity pass by. Go ahead and ask questions. And before you become fully ready, let me remind you that Ms. Lenov has put the full slide of that presentation in the chat block. So before we close the session, go ahead and grab it. The routine now for AIU is not to post the presentation into your portals. Grab the session right now. And of course, if for any reason you don't have it's not that you don't have, you do have the opportunity to get the presentation right now, but if you fail to do so, you may later request that presentation from your tutors. But it is there right now, so go ahead and get it before we close this session or ask questions. Um, uh, I thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen, for your attendance. We don't have too much time left, so please go ahead right at this time and ask whatever questions you want to ask in the arena of digital marketing, but very specifically on today's topic, how to sell to anyone with zero budget. The idea is that you don't have to have money. You can sell your product. You can grab people's attention. You may make sure that you attract people to you, whether it is selling, building a relationship, whatever you want to make work. As far as you are concerned, you can do that without pressure, without money, without cash. This is the idea. But again, if there is anything on that presentation that's not very clear to you, go ahead right at this time. I keep repeating myself. This is
Yeah.
your time, brothers and sisters, to ask
And also,
questions.
Dr. Balsin, another thing that if you don't have questions and nobody has questions, that's okay. Why don't we walk through some of the things that, like let's make it practical. If there's somebody here who has their own business, who is running for office, I know we had some people last time that were running for office, or somebody who is planning an event for your community, or if you're a part of a community or a volunteering for a specific organization, whether it's a profit, for profit, nonprofit, it doesn't matter. Um, and you want to bring more people because at the end of the day, this is about bringing more people somewhere, whether it's to buy something with money or to buy a message, an idea to get them to an event. That's also something that we can talk through to see, what are some of the things that you could do um, without having to spend money on necessarily advertising. And advertising is not just advertising when it comes to on social media, like paid ads. It can be anything. It can be putting up a billboard. Those things cost money as well. Um, putting in message in the newspaper. I know that a lot of you guys come from different parts of the world, and every type of advertisement, whether it's through, necessarily digital, or any other way, to be able to bring people to your event, to your business, to anywhere. It costs money. So these are things that you can do so that it's not just about, the transaction between cash and service, or cash or product. It's really about selling yourself. When you go to get a job, right? You have your CV, your resume, but what can you do differently? And start thinking about what are some of the things that you can do differently to stand out from everybody else. Like, you don't want to be that same person, right? Everybody shows up with your CV, when you're trying to get a job, but what about all the other stuff that you can be doing differently, right? So think about how when everybody seeks, you sign, right? Like, not
Yes.
obviously in the way that you're gonna do something crazy, right? Like, to put yourself at harm necessarily. Um, so, like, okay, somebody's just messaging me. I have some units
And
for,
before you read that question,
yeah.
Ms. Lenoff, I do have a question on the chat box as well. But
Mm-hmm.
before I read that question for you and for the other attendees, I do understand that one reason for our participants to be somewhat reluctant to ask questions, and I believe this is also closely linked to the topic of selling to people by building relationships.
Yeah.
But let's remember, Ms. Lenoff, that one particular issue that most people have, even if they kind of try to hide it, but people are very, very shy for multiple reasons. People do not feel comfortable to, well, let's say, approach people whom they don't know, whom they are not familiar with, or there can be a language issue which the individual does not want to make it stand out. I mean, they are not comfortable. So the
Yeah.
idea is these people are shy. We need to build relationships with other people, and we're shy. How can that be overcome?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times when people are shy, the more you do something, the better you get. So just practicing with a friend or a family member, creating those
Uh-huh.
conversations can really help. Another thing is that a lot of people sometimes when they're shy is because they don't know that other person. But if you start to message them, it doesn't have to be a face-to-face conversation. It can be just a message, and then you
Mhm.
follow up with a voice note. Something of the path of least resistance, let's say, will allow those people that are shy to just get out there and start those conversations. And like, I was very shy talking in front of people, and I didn't want to create content, but I made it my goal to do it. And for a whole year I did a Facebook Live. I didn't care, you know, and I think I've shared this story before. I didn't care whether people were listening or not. It was more about me putting myself out there and controlling what I can control. And I did that for a whole year, 52 weeks. I waited until Friday every single week because I didn't want to do it, but I had to. It was the end of the week. It was Friday, so I had to just put myself out there. And that is the approach that you have to take. If you're not good at something because either you're shy or you don't have the skills, we live in an incredible world where opportunities are everywhere. You just have to open up your eyes to see them, and
Yes,
information, especially now.
yes.
There's no excuse. So just put yourself out there. You can be shy and you can be yourself, and that's what makes people be attracted to you. Because
All
if
right.
you're there authentically, then people are going to connect with you.
Yes. Now, let me read that question from Santam Duganda, which does not quite relate to today's topic. But again, that is part of the concept of shyness, which precludes relationships. But let me read that from Santam.
Sure.
How can we create the business relationship with American entrepreneurs in Africa? It's a tough one.
Yeah, so you have to ask the question, where are they hanging out? American entrepreneurs in Africa, they probably are on a Facebook group. There's Facebook groups for everything. There probably could be on Reddit as well. And if they're anything related to business, they're probably on LinkedIn.
Hmm.
So you need to, what I would do is I would do some research into the companies of these entrepreneurs that are there. Like what are people into? Like why are Americans doing business in Africa? Like
Hmm.
what are the opportunities for these entrepreneurs to say, okay, I'm gonna leave everything in the US and I'm just gonna go to Africa, or I'm going to invest in Africa and I'm gonna stay in the US. So you have to really think like them. Where would I be? Where would I do? What types of things I would do? Obviously, if you ask AI where they are, the AI probably will tell you. But if you don't want to, if you don't have that option, and if AI doesn't give you something good, the first thing I would go is Reddit. There's a lot of different things about investments there.
Hmm.
Also, like I said, Facebook groups. There's Facebook groups for everything nowadays. And I would also go on LinkedIn and do, if you have Sales Navigator, it allows you to find entrepreneurs, business owners in specific geographical area.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
if not, you can try Sales Navigator, which is a paid feature for LinkedIn, and you'll be able to find them. And then just start, doing organic strategies there. Obviously, always lead with value so that they'll see you, and you can create those relationships.
Thank you very much. I hope you get the idea, Santam. Just give it a try and you will see how uh, powerful the strategy is to build the relationships you are looking for with American entrepreneurs within Africa. But let me also add something real quick. Making jokes is also a very, very powerful strategy. You wouldn't believe that. And I kind of remember, if you allow me to share this anecdote, Miss Lenoff,
Yeah.
on my first bachelor's degree program. I did two before getting into my master's and then my doctorate's degree. Uh, uh, I was extremely shy. Miss Lenoff just indicated she was shy, but I think that he was deeper for me. Every time I had to interact with people, it was really a chore that I just couldn't do. But for my bachelor's degree, as you know, at that level, you have to sometimes make presentations. We're not talking about live system which did not exist back then. So it was physically, and I had to go in front of 40, 50 people and make a presentation. The shy guy that I was, shut up that day. I remember in front of that class, and I went like this. I'm
Yeah, I
trying
believe
to cover my face because it was extremely hard, extremely difficult. And somebody made a joke. The whole class started laughing. And then I laughed too. And then following that moment, that somehow established a bridge between myself and my audience, then I felt comfortable. I made a joke myself. And ever since, in my 45 plus year of teaching career, I make jokes all the times, and that works wonders for me. So give it a
Yeah.
try, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if this would work for you, but give it a try and you'll see what happens, whether it works or not. If not, then you can use one of these strategies that Miss Miri Lenoff shared with us today.
Yeah. And then we have
Uh,
one more question, Dr. Valcin, because we only have 4 minutes left.
okay, all right. Okay.
So someone is asking that they have an Airbnb, and lately the clientele has reduced. How do I attract more clients? Well, obviously,
Mhm.
I don't know so much about, what you've done in the past and what has helped in the past. Um, one of the things that I love about Airbnbs is that the story is there, right? Like there's a reason why people are traveling to your location. And I think that's one of the biggest things that you have. Like tell the story, record the Airbnb, share what's in there around the area to do. People love those types of videos. They love curiosity. People who love to travel like to see that. So I would be posting that all over the place. I would also be creating an email list of your past clients and the people, I guess, guests they are, because they're not really clients. They're really like your guests. But it really helps a lot to show what, who came to your Airbnb, how much fun they had. Share your reviews. Anytime you get a review, make it a huge deal. Reply to the review wherever they're leaving the review, whether it's on the Airbnb site or in your private website. So those are things that you can be doing proactively to increase, your occupancy rate. Yeah.
Thank you very, very much. I also want to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, our very cherished participants, that the link to the full presentation of Ms. Lenoff today is still in the chat box. For some reason, I don't quite understand. We didn't have too many, questions or comments, but the link to that presentation is right now in the chat box, ladies and gentlemen, and I would love you to go and grab that link and click on it so that you can have access to that presentation before we close down today's session. It is also an opportunity for me to remind you that each and every one of you was key to the overall success of that class today. And I hope you took full advantage of whatever was shared with you during this presentation on how to sell to anyone with zero budget. Ms. Lenoff was very, very clear about the fact that when we say how to sell to anyone, it's not necessarily a physical product. It's not exactly trading money, but also this applies to any time you want to sell yourself. If you want, let's say, to flirt with somebody whom you might see as a future wife or husband, if you want to become friends to somebody, this is the same strategy you would apply. So that's why I truly believe this class of Miss Winnie Lenoff was very, very important.
Thank you.
If you happen to have questions in the future, you can also reach out to her and get your questions answered. Going back to you at this time, Ms. Lenoff, as we have run out of time now.
Yeah, I want to just thank you, everybody, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you once again, brothers and sisters. You've been very, very important in today's class. I want to thank you once more for your attendance. And if you believe, like I do, that Ms. Lenoff has done a truly outstanding job, go ahead at this time and tell her, please. Your microphones are on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Lenoff. That was a good
Thank you very much.
It's been a real pleasure having you again this Monday. Be blessed. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Okay,
Thank you.
goodbye.
Thank you.